Well, my daughter's really struggling right now. They were moved in December, and since then, my oldest daughter was put in a mental hospital where she was kept for 2 weeks. My youngest daughter has shut down completely, won't talk to anybody, can't have a conversation without anybody without screaming at them, all because they were removed. Is there ever going to be a time when the judge will say, enough's enough, give these kids back to their parents?
Joined by my social media influencers and co-hosts, Georgette Truin and Erin Carranza. Ladies, we're going to take another call right now. We're going to talk to Katrina from Missouri, the Show Me State. Katrina, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
A question to ask, mostly.
Go ahead.
Well, my daughter's really struggling right now. They were moved in December, and since then, my oldest daughter was put in a mental hospital where she was kept for 2 weeks. My youngest daughter has shut down completely, won't talk to anybody, can't have a conversation without anybody without screaming at them, all because they were removed. Is there ever going to be a time when the judge will say, enough's enough, give these kids back to their parents because they are suffering by not being with them?
I can't answer that question because I could say yes, there will come a time, and in some cases I'll say no, there won't come a time. It just depends on the facts and circumstances, the particular social worker and judge, and of course the attorneys. I mean, what you've told me is something very general, right? And, one of the things I talk to Erin and Georgette about this all the time. It's hard to look at a case from your perspective as to what's fair and right, because most of the time the judges are implementing what they believe the law to be. Now, that might be contrary to your belief as to what's fair and right. So the best thing that I can tell you is you need to be working with your attorney, come up with a strategy to make sure that you can implement this strategy to get the children back in your custody. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Did you have any
well,
other?
I guess I know what I have to do then. And just let you know, your little statement about do you want to be right or do you want your children back? That hit really good today.
Well, I'm glad.
I've been hiding, trying to get, because I'm right and I know I'm right, but it really doesn't matter if I'm right because it doesn't get my kids back.
Right. I tell that to people all the time because everybody is worried about being right and they're not focused on getting the children back. And that's the most important thing. And if you want to get even later on by suing them, get the kids back first. Right? And then you can vindicate yourself through a lawsuit that you may or may not have. I don't know. But focus on getting the kids back. That's the most important thing.
Well, you answered my question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for calling and thank you for listening. Erin, the first time I ever mentioned that to you, what did you think?
It stopped me dead in my tracks because you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter. It's in the past. It doesn't matter. Would you rather be right or do you want your kids back? Well, excuse my language, but forget being right. I don't care about that. You're right. Let me get my kids back. I always say, I would rather be happy than right any day. Let your pride go out the window about being right or having some wrong. Focus on getting your kids back. Don't waste your time thinking about, oh, well, I was done dirty. Well, your kids are gone, so forget about that and get your kids back.
Georgette, what do you think about that? Right versus getting the kids back?
The truth is, when you first spoke to me about this was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually didn't understand what you mean by that. I thought you were crazy. And you know, I will tell you the truth. You know that. It took you about 2 years to live. Think about that. 2 years. 2 years. And I'm like, it's like you were talking to me and you sounded so robotic. Like, it didn't make sense. I'm like, is he for real? Does he even know what he's saying? Type of thing. But it took 2 years to actually make sense to me. Because I knew I was right. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. Yet I'm guilty for something I didn't do. And I'm like, why is the system so weird? It didn't make sense to me. But all along, you were right. All along, you were right. Strategy is what helps you win the kids. I mean, what helps you win the case.
Erin, mark this
Strategy.
on the videotape. She said I was right. All along, you were right. You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I'm glad not that I was right, but I'm glad you said it took you 2 years of me just talking to you and talking to you and talking to you, because I tell stuff to people and they kind of look at me and they heard what I said. I think they actually understood what I said, but they disagree with me. And then, you know, it's that question in the mind. Well, this guy's been a lawyer almost 35 years. He's been doing, you know, thousands of these cases. Should I listen to him?
Another thing you said to me is, Erin, you're not a person. You're just a number. In the court, you're just a number. Like, you need to.
And that hurt me.
Let go of that emotional thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody believes they're special. And you are. But look, don't look at it from your perspective. You know, you're dealing with a system of justice. And, you know, I'm sure you guys have heard from people on the Facebook pages, on this show. You know, people get chewed up and spit out all the time because they don't want to focus on winning. Winning is not being right. Sometimes they're the same thing, but most of the time they're not. And I try to tell the people that, and it's hard for them to accept because they believe they're special and the judge should be treating them special.
No, it's not about being special, Davis. It's about this. And when a social worker meets you, right? And then the social worker writes all kinds of stuff that you didn't even discuss with her. And you're standing in court and you expect the judge to use common sense to review the report, right? To see that the report is false. Why? Somebody else's name in the report. Somebody else's name. Not Erin Carranza, but Amanda Smith. And Erin is like, well, who's Amanda Smith? I'm not Amanda. And who is this, you know, whatever. It literally happened to me. Whose phone number is this? Whose address is this? It's not my address. It's not my phone number. So in our brain, we're standing in front of a judge thinking the judge is going to use judgment, fair judgment, maybe common sense to review what's in front of him. Maybe ask the social worker, well, her name is Erin, but this is Amanda. So who is here today, Amanda or Erin? So what they do, they copy and paste everything. The problem is judges don't pay attention nor review cases. They just believe what the social workers are saying. So we as humans, when we hear you, we're like, what do you mean? It doesn't matter if you're right. Because fairness is like, there is no fairness. And it took me a long time to understand there is no such thing as justice in the courtroom. There is no such thing as justice. And all my life, I grew up with both parents. You know, my dad and my mom loved each other till death did them part. There was no domestic violence. There was no drama. Me growing up thinking that life should be that way. You know, and then when you get in a situation with your ex that lies against you and falsify everything, and then the judge is like, believe in the ex because of his connection with the court system, what have you, it just blows your mind. You're like, what happened here?
You know, I want to disagree with you, but listen, hear me out.
Okay.
In the courtroom, there is justice.
Mm.
The problem is that justice is not what you thought it was. That's the problem. See, you're 25 years old, and you have grown up believing that
Mm-hmm.
you understand what justice is. And then when you get
Mm-hmm.
into a courtroom, you realize that things aren't operating the way you thought they should be operating.
2 minutes.
That doesn't mean that there isn't justice. What it means is what you thought was justice is not justice. You know, I did a video on this on YouTube, if you can find it, a couple years ago. And I think it's called What is Justice? And I refer that video to people all the time because it's really a good explanation it kind of shocks them. Here I am, a
Mm-hmm.
35-year-old mother, and they taking my kids away, and I claim there's
Mm-hmm.
no justice. No. There is justice. It's just not what you thought it was going to be. Because
What is it, Vincent? What is the justice exactly? If you are deemed wrong, guilty when you did nothing wrong, where is the justice? Where is the justice when the
1 minute.
family are connected to the courts? Where is the justice when they are literally throwing a good mother,
Mhm.
right, under the bus, like
Right.
literally under a bus, and the bus rolled her for years, just kept going over her, and nobody's listening. Yeah, a
Hey,
good mother, no drugs,
hold on a second.
no records,
Hold on a
nothing.
second. I'm sorry, but Wayman is telling me we have to take a break. So this is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. We'll be back with more stories and more questions right after these messages.